What if every conflict in your life, personal, professional, or even internal, could be won like a general on the battlefield? From boardrooms to breakups, the principles of warfare are at play in ways you might never notice until it's too late. Introduction. Welcome to AudioBookCAPS, where we break down the most powerful ideas from best-selling books so you can absorb a decade of wisdom in minutes. Today, we're diving into the 33 Strategies of War by best-selling author Robert Greene, the master of strategic thinking behind the 48 Laws of Power and Mastery. In this gripping and tactical guide, Greene fuses military history, psychology, and philosophy into a manual for navigating conflict on every battlefield of life. Whether you're facing a manipulative coworker, planning your next business move, or fighting your own inner doubts, this book reveals the timeless war strategies used by history's greatest minds, adapted for the modern world. Stick around, because by the end of this summary, you won't just survive your battles, you'll dominate them. Chapter 1. Declare war on your enemies. Let's be real. Life is full of hidden enemies. Not just loud, in-your-face opposition, but subtle threats. The coworker who undercuts you, the inner critic that says you're not good enough, or the habit that keeps sabotaging your progress. Robert Greene says the first rule of strategy is clarity, and that starts by declaring war on your enemies. But here's the catch. He's not saying to be aggressive for the sake of it. He's saying that you can't fight what you don't see clearly. And the biggest mistake most people make? Avoiding conflict, pretending enemies don't exist, or worse, fighting the wrong battles. Instead, Greene urges us to name the real enemy. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a bad business partner, a self-limiting belief, or fear itself. He brings in powerful examples from history, like the way Genghis Khan focused his fury on uniting Mongol tribes by giving them a common enemy, or how Martin Luther King Jr. framed racial injustice as a battle worth fighting, creating clarity and momentum in a chaotic time. The takeaway? When you declare war, clearly and consciously, you create focus, energy, and purpose. No more fighting in the dark. No more aimless struggle. So ask yourself, what battle have you been avoiding? Chapter 2. Do not fight the last war. Have you ever reacted to a situation thinking, this worked last time, it'll work again, only for it to totally backfire? That's the danger Robert Greene highlights in this chapter. Fighting the last war, using old strategies in a new battlefield. See, humans are creatures of habit. We rely on past experiences to guide our decisions. But in warfare, business, or everyday life, the rules are always changing. What won you success before might be useless, or even destructive now. Greene shows how military leaders often fail by clinging to outdated tactics. Take the French in World War II. They built a massive wall, the Maginot Line, to defend against a German invasion, just like in World War I. But the Germans? They changed the game with fast, mobile attacks and blew right past it. The lesson? Adapt or lose. In real life, this means not launching a full-blown defense in a relationship based on an old argument, or sticking to a business model that worked 5 years ago but is now irrelevant. The world evolves, and you have to evolve with it. Greene encourages us to develop what's called strategic fluidity. Stay sharp. Study the current terrain. Don't assume what worked before is still your best move. Because in war and in life, yesterday's victory can be tomorrow's trap. Chapter 3. Amidst the turmoil of events, do not lose your presence of mind. Ever been in a high-pressure moment where your brain just froze? Like an argument, a sudden crisis, or a big decision where your emotions hijack your logic. That's exactly what Robert Greene warns us about in this chapter. losing your presence of mind when things get chaotic. In war, generals who panic make costly mistakes. The same goes for us in everyday life. Whether it's a stressful job interview, a messy breakup, or a business deal gone sideways. If you lose control of your mind, you lose control of the situation. Greene emphasizes the power of emotional detachment. That doesn't mean being cold or robotic. It means learning to pause, observe, and act with calm clarity, even when everything around you is on fire. He shares how leaders like Napoleon Bonaparte thrived under pressure because they trained themselves to stay cool, collected, and strategic, no matter how intense things got. They didn't just react, they responded. So how do you build this inner calm? Practice, meditation, deep breathing, mental rehearsal, and most of all, expect a storm, so when it hits, you're not surprised. The key takeaway? Presence of mind is your greatest weapon when the world goes off script. Because in chaos, the calm thinker becomes the most dangerous player. Chapter 4. Create a sense of urgency and desperation. Ever notice how you become laser-focused when your back is against the wall? That's the magic Robert Greene talks about in this chapter. Urgency and desperation can unlock a version of you that's bold, creative, and unstoppable. Most people get comfortable. They procrastinate, overthink, and wait for the perfect time. But in war and in life, waiting too long can be fatal. Greene argues that the most powerful warriors create their own urgency, even when things seem safe. Why? Because pressure forces you to act with clarity and speed. It sharpens your mind. It removes the fluff. When there's no way out but forward, you move with purpose. He tells the story of Cortez, the Spanish conquistador who famously burned his ships, so his men had no choice but to fight. Extreme? Yes. But that desperation led them to victory. You don't have to go that far. But think about it. What would change if you acted like failure wasn't an option? If the clock was ticking, create mini deadlines. Set bold goals. Cut off escape routes that keep you comfortable. Because when you're fully committed, when there's something real at stake, you'll find energy and courage you didn't know you had. Bottom line, urgency creates momentum. Desperation fuels greatness. Don't wait for a crisis. Manufacture one. Chapter 5. Control the dynamic. Let's face it, most people live reactively. They wait to see what others do, then scramble to respond. But Robert Greene flips that script in this chapter. Don't react, act. Control the dynamic. When you're always on the defense, you're letting someone else set the rules. The strongest players in life, leaders, negotiators, creatives, even athletes, don't wait. They set the tempo, create the rhythm, and force others to adjust to them. Think of it like chess. If your opponent is making all the moves and you're just trying to survive, you're already losing. But if you take the initiative, you gain leverage. You dictate the pace and pull others into your game. Greene shares examples of bold commanders like General William Tecumseh Sherman, who shocked the enemy with unpredictable, aggressive moves. Sherman didn't just win battles. He shattered morale by staying a step ahead and keeping his opponents off balance. In everyday life, this might look like being the first to speak in a negotiation, pitching an unexpected idea in a meeting, or asking bold questions that others aren't prepared for. The goal? Make people respond to you. That gives you power. So, stop waiting for the perfect moment. Be the one who makes the first move. Lead the dance. Because when you control the dynamic, you control the outcome. Chapter 6. Occupy the moral high ground. Here's a powerful truth. People don't just follow strength. They follow righteousness. That's the essence of this chapter. Robert Greene teaches that to gain lasting influence and power, you need to stand on the moral high ground. Why? Because when you present your cause as noble, just, or for the greater good. It's much harder for others to oppose you without looking selfish or cruel. You shift the battlefield from force to principle. Take historical leaders like Abraham Lincoln. He didn't just fight to preserve the Union. He framed the Civil War as a moral fight against slavery. That gave the North purpose. It wasn't just politics, it was a cause. That moral clarity won support at home and abroad. In your own life, this could mean positioning your business as one that truly serves its customers, or resolving a workplace conflict by emphasizing fairness and mutual respect. When people see you as acting with integrity, they're more likely to trust, support, and defend you. But here's the catch: you can't fake it. The high ground only works if it's believable. If you posture without principle, people will see through it, and it'll backfire. So, whether you're leading a team, a family, or a movement, lead with purpose. Claim the high ground, not just to look good, but to do good. Because in the long run, the moral position is the most strategic one. Chapter 7. Transform your war into a crusade. Ever notice how people go all in when they believe in something bigger than themselves? That's what this chapter is all about. Robert Greene says if you want to inspire deep loyalty, energy, and relentless action, you need to turn your fight into a crusade, something that feels meaningful, even sacred. People aren't just motivated by money, power, or survival. They're moved by purpose. When you give your mission emotional weight, when it feels like a cause, not just a task, you unlock passion and unity on a whole new level. Greene points to leaders like Joan of Arc and Alexander the Great, who didn't just lead armies. They led movements. Their soldiers didn't see war as a job. They saw it as a calling. And that belief made them fearless. In modern life, this could mean rallying your team around a bold vision, not just quarterly targets, or framing your personal goals, like getting fit, starting a business, or quitting a bad habit, as part of a bigger transformation. The secret? Give your fight meaning. Use symbols. Tell stories. Connect your struggle to something timeless or universal. Because when your mission becomes a crusade, it's no longer about just winning. It's about standing for something. And people will fight harder, last longer, and believe deeper when the cause feels worth it. Chapter 8. Know your enemy. Want to win any battle, whether it's at work, in a negotiation, or even within yourself? Then don't guess, study. That's the core message of this chapter. Know your enemy better than they know themselves. Robert Greene reminds us that most people go into conflicts half-blind. They assume, project, or rush in based on emotion. But the best strategists take the time to observe, research, and understand. He draws from military history, showing how generals like Sun Tzu and Napoleon dominated not just because of strength, but because they deeply understood who they were up against, their habits, weaknesses, fears, and patterns. In everyday life, your enemy might be a competitor, a toxic colleague, or even your own procrastination. Greene says, treat it like an investigation. Listen more. Watch closely. Ask yourself what drives them, what scares them, what do they always do, and what do they never see coming. Knowing your enemy gives you leverage. You can predict their moves, exploit their blind spots, and choose the best moment to strike, or even avoid the fight altogether. And here's the twist. Sometimes the enemy is you. Your own fears, doubts, or bad habits. Greene says self-awareness is just as critical as knowing external opponents. Bottom line, strategy isn't just about action. It's about intelligence. Because when you truly know your enemy, you control the battlefield. Chapter 9. Pick your battles carefully. Let's be honest, some fights just aren't worth it. In this chapter, Robert Greene gives us one of the most underrated strategies of war and life. Don't waste your energy on battles that don't matter. It's tempting to respond to every challenge, prove every point, or defend yourself in every argument. But Greene warns that this kind of impulsive fighting drains your resources, weakens your focus, and leaves you vulnerable when a real threat appears. Instead, think like a seasoned general. Before engaging, ask, is this fight necessary? Will it bring me closer to my goal? Or is it just a distraction? He shares the example of Queen Elizabeth I, who faced pressure to go to war like the kings before her, but often chose diplomacy instead. Her restraint didn't make her weak. It made her strategic. She saved her strength for the battles that actually mattered and ruled successfully for over 40 years. In real life, this might mean ignoring petty drama, letting go of ego battles, or saying no to opportunities that don't align with your vision. It's about protecting your energy like it's gold. Greene's advice? Be selective. Be strategic. Because every time you say yes to one battle, you're saying no to another. So make it count. Chapter 10. Weave a seamless blend of the political and the strategic. Here's something many people overlook. Being a great strategist isn't just about winning battles. It's about managing people. In this chapter, Robert Greene teaches us that war isn't fought in isolation. Behind every strategy, there are politics, alliances, egos, public perception, and power plays. If you ignore the political side, even your best moves can backfire. Think of it like chess. It's not just about your next move. It's about how your move looks, who supports you, and who's quietly rooting for your downfall. Greene gives the example of Julius Caesar, who wasn't just a brilliant military commander. He was a political mastermind. He built loyalty, controlled narratives, and turned public opinion to his advantage. That's what made his victory sustainable. In everyday life, this might look like balancing office politics while pushing for innovation, or navigating family dynamics while making bold decisions. You can't bulldoze your way through people, not if you want lasting success. The key? Blend bold action with soft power. Be aware of who's watching, whose support you need, and how to win hearts, not just arguments. Greene's message is simple but powerful. Strategy gets things done, but politics makes them stick. Master both, and you don't just win, you lead. Conclusion. So, what can we learn from the 33 strategies of war? That life is a battlefield, filled with challenges, competitors, distractions, and even internal struggles. But the good news is, you don't have to stumble through it blindly. With the right mindset and strategy, you can face any situation with clarity, confidence, and control. Robert Greene doesn't just hand you war tactics. He gives you a toolkit for life. Whether you're leading a team, growing a business, navigating tough relationships, or just trying to master yourself, these strategies help you move with purpose instead of panic. Remember, pick your battles wisely, stay calm under pressure, take the lead, and above all, never stop learning how the game's really played. And this is just a taste. If any of these strategies sparks something in you, I highly recommend reading the full book. Every chapter is packed with gripping stories, sharp insights, and timeless lessons that can shift how you think and act forever. If you found this summary helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to AudioBookCAPS, and share your thoughts in the comments. What strategy hit you the hardest? What battle are you fighting right now? Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and play to win.